After 50 years in natural health, I'm Dr. Howard Pallay, and I'll show you how to get healthy and stay healthy naturally.
Welcome to podcast number 5, Get Healthy, Stay Healthy Naturally with Dr. Howard Pallay. We're going to be discussing in this episode the thyroid. As we move into the endocrine system and hormonal problems, this is always the starting point because it's easily the most common issue that I'm finding in my practice in the last 20 years. I mentioned earlier, and I'll repeat, my first most common nutritional problem when I started practicing 50 years ago was people having sugar problems. They did not understand that a lot of sugar was not healthy and was actually a poison if overdone. The middle of my career, people had liver gallbladder problems because too much fast food, fried food, greasy food, fatty food, cream sauces, cooked cheeses, etc. We've discussed that in prior episodes. Now we're going to discuss the fact that the last third of my practice career, the most common problem are hormonal problems, but especially the thyroid. The thyroid controls your metabolism. Literally, that's daytime energy, nighttime sleep. Daytime energy, nighttime sleep, okay? What goes wrong with the thyroid is that wave pattern can be too shallow. The wave pattern can be too pronounced. The median point can be too high. The median point can be too low, or it could be erratic. Well, the erratic one is a diseased thyroid. That'll always show up in blood work. But interestingly enough, 80% of the people I treated successfully for thyroid imbalances were negative on blood work. And they will often come in and tell me, oh no, Dr. Pallay, I don't have a thyroid problem. My doctors check me all the time. Well, why do you think the doctors check them all the time? They clinically think they may have a thyroid problem, but the medical profession, if you're within normal limits, their hands are tied and they're not going to treat you. They'll just keep an eye out to see when it becomes a problem. But you see, with a lot of health problems in the human body, everything's not a disease. A lot of things are a functional imbalance, especially things like the thyroid, okay? And instead of waiting for it to show up on positive on your blood work, okay, or waiting for it to one day to turn into a disease, why not fix it early, okay? And that's what this is all about. It's very common now because the thyroid is extremely sensitive to toxins, including freshly painted rooms, exhaust fumes from cars, pollution, nicotine, caffeine, radiation exposure, like too many dental x-rays and not covering the thyroid with lead properly. All of these things bother the thyroid, okay? So it's a very, very, very common problem that's going more and more frequently with cases today, okay? A little side note, if you do show up positive with thyroid, we could still help you. And if you're on synthetic thyroid hormone, Synthroid, we might be able to help you. We might be able to cut back your dosage. You might even be able to eventually get off it if you want to. But the first thing you need to understand is that Synthroid does not help your thyroid function better. It bypasses the thyroid, which is already not functioning well, and you become even more dependent on the Synthroid, and you don't have the normal fluctuations of thyroid hormone levels and giving you energy during the day and relaxation and sleep at night. You get a straight line because there's no fluctuations. You get symptoms of overactive and underactive. And this is one of the things I want to discuss also, is that it's too simplified to say overactive thyroid, underactive thyroid. You can have an underactive thyroid that races. You can have an overactive thyroid that crashes. It doesn't show up as much in young people as far as the symptomatology, but I'm going to list some of the more common symptoms that I see with a thyroid patient. That's mood swings of unknown origin, depression of unknown origin, cold hands, cold feet, sweaty hands, sweaty feet, difficulty swallowing, palpitations, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, fatigue in the middle of the day, and difficulty sleeping, among some of the many, many thyroid issues. Sudden hair loss is another one. Not male pattern baldness so much, but sudden hair loss, especially in women. And thyroid problems are not restricted to women. They tend to have a little more of it than men because there is an interaction between the thyroid and the female hormones as well. So let's get right into it, okay? First of all, you can't do this at home, but you can try. I've felt tens of thousands of thyroids, and you could feel if one side of the thyroid, which is right here, is more sensitive than the other if it's swollen, okay? You can go get testing done, including ultrasound scans and biopsies. But the key thing is, if you think you have a thyroid tendency, my treatment uses no direct hormone therapy at all, has no side effects. So you can attempt to try to treat yourself if you so desire. If you think you have a thyroid tendency, thyroid tends to run in the family also, by the way. Very common that many people in a family who are genetically related can have thyroid issues as well, okay? One of the things that first thing you want to do with thyroid is you want to avoid toxins, okay? Because I just explained that to you. The thyroid is kind of like the canary in the mines that'll tell you if there's a problem and get out of the mine before it gets worse. The thyroid is very sensitive that way. I even had a patient years ago who every time there was a radiation leak at Indian Point up the Hudson River from New York, where I'm located, that they would actually get crazy. And then the next day we would read, oh, there was a radiation leak at Indian Point. I eventually actually made this person, not made, but I mean, strongly suggested they move to Arizona and get away from the pollution and the radiation that they can be exposed to in the New York area because they were that highly sensitive, okay? So the first thing you do with a thyroid patient is you get off of caffeine. Let me tell you something. When you tell thyroid patients to get off of caffeine, they come back and they're in tears. I can't, Dr. Pallay. I just can't. Because caffeine is actually a highly addictive substance. Not like heroin or cocaine or something, but it's pretty damn, have high dependency level, okay? So getting off of caffeine, getting away from nicotine, getting away from fumes. I had another patient who had a thyroid problem who worked in a body shop, and he would go in and out. He was the boss. He took over from his dad, worked for his dad for a while, and he would go into the shop, and there's all kinds of toxic fumes in a body shop because they're working with plastics and metals and blow torches and stuff. So I made him wear a mask when we went in there, have an air conditioner, and frequently change the filter in his office. And then I fixed his thyroid, rebalanced it. So Synthroid bypasses the thyroid. What I do is put the patient on a diet and supplements that stimulates and wakes up the thyroid and allows it with raw materials that are a higher level usage that are easier for the body to uptake and send to the thyroid. This gets to an important point as I get to the next phase of my podcast. I, for my whole career of 50 years, have done a lot of what is called protomorphogen therapy. Protomorphogen therapy means dried tissue extracts from an organ to treat an organ, okay? So you use desiccated pieces of the thyroid in the supplement. You don't eat them and taste them, but they're in a capsule, and they're like raw nutrients at a higher level than just proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. And this was proved after many, many years of being poo-pooed by the medical profession that actually the villi of the small intestines, when they need nutrients, will actually absorb and encapsulate large polypeptide chains like these thyroid tissue extracts and absorb them when they need it. So everything doesn't have to be broke down to basic amino acids. Sometimes you absorb large polypeptide chains of protein, which is a chain of amino acids that's very specific for something, in this case for the thyroid, okay? So we use thyroid supplements. If we have a racing thyroid, I use a homeopathic thyroid drops remedy to like calm and mellow the thyroid out. But eventually we switch over to the thyroid supplements, which are tremendously successful. When I treat somebody for a thyroid problem, they know they're feeling better within 3 to 5 days. It's miraculous. It's amazing. They feel like different people. But it takes time to get the dosage worked out exactly. But if you fix the thyroid and remove all the toxins like nicotine, caffeine, exposure to paint. Oh, I had an art teacher who had a problem. They didn't ventilate the room enough, and they got sick from the fumes from the acrylic paints. I think acrylic is actually more toxic than oil paints. But either way, if you work in an art room yourself or in a art teacher, please, you have to have ventilation. Everybody should have ventilation. I know the Norwegians and other Scandinavians every day will open all the windows of their house for like 20 minutes and let all the air blow through, let fresh air and oxygen come in, and then close the windows. Oxygen is so important for everything, not just the thyroid. Fresh air is important. A lot of people with problems like this, and especially allergy problems, should crack a window in their bedroom at night to get fresh air. That leads to another thing. You know what creates oxygen in the house? Plants. You should have plants everywhere in your house, especially in your bedroom. And of course, crack the windows if you can. And remember, people down south where it's hot, they don't open windows either because they got air conditioning going all the time. You got to get some fresh air, people, okay? And believe it or not, some of the darker, waxy plants like snake plants create the most oxygen at night. Plants take CO2 in and release oxygen. So that's what creates a lot of the oxygen that exists in our world. And that's why when you deforest and cut down trees everywhere, you're making the planet a lot less healthy for us humans while you're cutting down trees to build houses and to burn for fuel in third world countries. So iodine is very important for the thyroid. It has to be utilized. There are people who in the medical profession who think iodine is some kind of dangerous thing. We use an organic iodine. You get iodine from fish as well. But there is iodine in the supplements that I use. So they are glandular tissue extracts combined with the co-nutrients that are necessary to stimulate and wake up the thyroid and get it to function better so that the thyroid can function better on its own. And then you wean off the supplement and your thyroid's okay unless you make it toxic again. But thyroid patients do reoccur, so you keep an eye on your symptoms and you see what's going on. But if you get healthy and eat healthy, you're more likely to stay healthy even if you have a thyroid problem. Sometimes people with thyroid issues need to get out of polluted areas. You know, the New York metropolitan area, the LA area, Chicago area, highly polluted areas. And thyroid people will react to all these car fumes. I had a little old lady who never got rid of her old car, and she was getting sick whenever she went into her car until I figured out she needed to change the exhaust in her car. Exhaust fumes were leaking into her car. She didn't put it in her garage, so she didn't get, thank God, CO2, carbon monoxide poisoning. But what she did get was all the fumes coming in and making her thyroid sick. The thyroid is sensitive to toxins, paint, nicotine, radiation, caffeine, okay? So what does a person drink who's a caffeine person? Water, herbal tea, half a lemon and water, okay? That's what you drink. You just got to get off all these toxins. You see, everybody could tolerate a little bit of certain toxins, but people who have a problem can't tolerate even a little bit of it. The same with my sugar patients. Sugar's not good for anybody, but a little sugar is not going to kill you if you only do it occasionally and as a dessert. But in reality, it's not good for anybody. But people who have sugar sensitivities and it runs in their family, they can't have any sugar, okay? By the way, I know this is not the topic for today, but let me jump back. I really didn't discuss in the diet episode or in the sugar and pancreas metabolism episode about what are healthy snacks. Just so people know, if you do want to snack at night, because it's actually not good to eat a really late dinner, just so you know. Eating dinner at 10 o'clock at night is not smart. Your body's ready for sleep. You're not supposed to be putting food in then for energy. And if you are, don't put carbs in, okay? But healthy snacks are nuts and seeds, carrot sticks, celery sticks, cucumber slices. You could put cream cheese on it. You could put almond butter or peanut butter on it. You could have rice cakes with almond butter, peanut butter. You could have honeydew melon and cantaloupe. These are popcorn, believe it or not, without all the butter on it, is actually a fairly healthy snack, okay? So those are some examples. If I think of more, I'll bring them up later. Thyroid is such an important issue. It very, very, very much impacts women's female hormonal problems, and it'll extremely exacerbate them. It's very involved in people getting sudden clumps of hair loss. This is almost always thyroid related. I will also put them on a supplement for hair, skin, and nails, but we will treat the thyroid. If we pick up a thyroid problem, I have ways to pick it up. You can use some of the information that I just gave you here today, and that's the discussion on thyroid for today.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe for more.
Please visit my website, gethealthystayhealthynaturally.com for more info and to directly order my favorite nutritional supplements and treatment protocols with a nice discount and free shipping too.